If you're on a GLP-1 like I am, you probably know that your appetite and your digestion have changed a lot. I just took my 71st GLP-1 shot. Today I'm going to show you 10 things that I always keep in my fridge because they agree with my digestion. They help me meet my protein and fiber goals. Actually, they help me meet all my nutritional goals. And stick around for the last one because it's crazy nutritious and you might not think about keeping it in your fridge. Okay, let's go. If you're new here, hi, I'm Bobby. I have been sharing my GLP-1 health journey after menopause here on YouTube for about the past 16 months, and I'm down about 43 pounds. I'm almost at maintenance, so stay tuned for that. Real quick, I'm not a medical doctor. I am a therapist, but I'm not your therapist. So none of this is mental health advice or medical advice. And I'll be talking about food today, but I'm not a dietitian or a food expert. I'm just talking about the things that are working for me, my experience, and some things that I've learned that might be helpful to you. But remember to always check with your own healthcare providers when you're making decisions for yourself. Some context real quick. I started out 71 weeks ago at 210.1 pounds, and my current weight is around 167. Before menopause, if I wanted to lose a few pounds, I could with diet and exercise. And then after menopause, nothing changed in how I was eating and exercise, but I was not able to lose weight no matter what. And I tried, and I ended up obese for the first time in my life. My doctor was worried about me. I was worried about me. And kind of out of desperation, really, I tried a GLP-1, and it has been the only thing that's allowed me to lose weight. Not in any kind of dramatic fashion. It's been about 2/3 of a pound a week on average, and I'm down about 43 pounds now. Health issues before the GLP-1, like high blood pressure, high A1C, are all under control now, and I feel really good. I'm currently taking 10 milligrams of Zepbound. That's still working good for me. And when I say working good for me, I mean that the appetite suppression is there, but not so much that I don't want to eat. And the food noise is absent. And I don't have any significant side effects. I did an episode for my walking pad like this a couple weeks ago, but the glare on my glasses was so bad that it actually made me kind of dizzy just to edit the video. I'll put a little snippet of it up here. So I did something bold. I wanted to record on the walking pad, but I was like, I cannot deal with that glare. So I found a pair of frames that are the exact same frames as my regular glasses, but they had an old prescription in them, so I popped out the lenses. So I'm coming at you with fake glasses, and every time I need to look down at my notes, I do this. But oh my gosh, the glare. And some people commented too that it was distracting, and I could not agree more. So we're trying this. Okay, let's get to the 10 foods in my fridge. I am someone who definitely does not like to go grocery shopping. So things that will last a long time in my fridge are definitely the things that I buy regularly. It's not an accident. I just don't go back to the grocery store often enough. So I want things that I know in a week I'll be able to eat. In a previous video, I talked about foods that I eat on repeat, and I divided it up into fridge, freezer, and pantry. I'll link to that video up here and in the description. There's a little bit of overlap to the things I talked about in that video, but not too much. I wanted to keep this kind of fresh for you all. Okay, the first 3 things are very specific brands of products that I always have on hand because I've tried a bunch of different types and these are the ones that I like. And weirdly, all 3 of them are liquids. They didn't plan it that way. The rest of the things on this list are solid foods, so don't worry, the solid foods are coming. And even though I'll be mentioning specific brands, none of this is sponsored. This is just the stuff I buy. I really like Bolthouse dressings, specifically their yogurt-based dressings, because when I'm in the mood for something really creamy and rich, like a blue cheese dressing or ranch, the regular versions of those can be a little too rich and creamy for my GLP-1 digestion. Plus it has the added benefit of having a lower fat content. So if you're trying to lose weight, and if you're on a GLP-1, you probably are either trying to lose weight or trying to maintain your weight loss. So it has the added benefit of having fewer calories than traditional salad dressing. My 2 favorites are blue cheese and ranch, and I know those are basic, but sometimes you want the basic dressings. And you know, I don't want to have an upset stomach from having a really rich version of those. Also, a reverse hack for this. And by reverse hack, I mean, you know how hacks are usually ways to do things easier? Well, this is a way to do things harder. When I have the motivation and desire to make a creamy GLP-1 friendly dressing from scratch, I will make it with a cashew base. When you blend cashews with water in a high-speed blender, it turns really creamy. I'll put a recipe up here that I use. If you don't have a high-speed blender, just soak the cashews in water for about an hour, or soak them in boiling water for about 15 minutes, and that'll soften them up so that a regular type of blender will make them creamy. High-speed blenders are like Blendtex, Vitamix, I think maybe Ninjas, I'm not sure. And the cashews have to be raw, they can't be roasted, otherwise it won't work. But yeah, sometimes I feel like making it from scratch, especially if I'm not just cooking for myself, if I'm cooking for a bunch of people, making a whole batch of dressing just makes sense. But to just have on hand in the fridge to drizzle 2 tablespoons on a salad, having a bottle of Bolthouse dressing is much more convenient. So like I was just saying, sometimes I make my dressings because it's more economical, it's less processed food, and it's really not that hard. But even though it's not that hard, sometimes I don't feel like it. And I like to have this brand of dressing, Primal Kitchen, on hand for when I don't feel like making dressing from scratch. What I like about Primal Kitchen is that they use avocado oil for the base instead of any kind of seed oils. And they have a bunch of flavors. My favorite for salads is their Greek vinaigrette, but they call these dressings and marinades, and most of them can be used as a sauce. I like the tzatziki, I don't know if I'm saying that right, tzatziki one, and the sesame ginger, I think it's called, that one, as a sauce. So if you put, you know, like a protein and a veggie and a grain in a bowl and you pour the sauce over it, it kind of turns it from a few random ingredients into a coherent meal with a theme and flavors. So it's a really easy way to make a fast bowl and add some healthy fats. I'll put the nutritional information up here for the Greek vinaigrette. And you can see how it's higher calorically and in fat grams than the Bolthouse, which is yogurt based, because it's avocado oil based. And yeah, sometimes I'm trying to not add extra fat, but honestly, sometimes I'm trying to reach my calorie threshold. Like if I'm really not hungry and I'm trying to make sure I eat enough calories, sometimes I want 100 and something calories of salad dressing, especially if I know it's healthy fats. So it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure in my fridge for low fat or regular fat salad dressings, kind of depending on how my day is going. You know what? I am getting really hot on this walking path. This is a wool blend shirt, which I love wearing outdoors. It has thumb holes and a hood. So it's a great thing to wear outside when it's chilly, and it is chilly today. That's why I have this on, but it is not an indoor exercise shirt. So I'm gonna pause the recording and go change into something a little cooler. I'll be right back. Oh my goodness, so much better. I also put my hair up. It's getting really sweaty. Gotta get my steps in. Okay, moving on to the third of the 3 liquids that I always keep in my fridge, and it is kombucha. If you don't know what kombucha is, it is a fermented tea, and you can buy so many different brands of kombucha. I have tried many, and I've never had a bad one, I gotta say. They're all good. But I keep coming back to this peach paradise flavored one by this particular brand. What are they called? GT's Living Food Peach Paradise. That is my go-to. I can't get enough of it. It's been like a couple years now that I've been drinking that one. So you can also make your own kombucha, and I was super into this about 10 years ago. It's like a science experiment in your kitchen. The fermentation part of kombucha happens because you add, I guess I call it an ingredient, but you don't eat it. You add a thing to tea and sugar, and that thing is called a SCOBY, and that stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. If that sounds gross, you are absolutely right. It looks disgusting. It is a slimy disc. Well, it takes the shape of the container. So since I had a round jar, it was a round disc of like leathery slime. It digests the sugar and ferments it and turns the really sweet tea into kombucha. Then you take that and you pour it into bottles and you cap the bottles and you let that ferment and it creates bubbles. And then you can flavor it. So when I was making my own, I made like basil mint and lemon ginger and just all these fun flavors because you could pour in like pureed berries and herbs, fresh herbs. Anyway, when I moved from Oregon to Georgia, I couldn't bring my SCOBY with me, so I listed it on my Buy Nothing group, and a woman came over and took my SCOBY so that she could make kombucha. And I just haven't gotten back into it since then, partly because it really grosses my husband out. And it does look, I don't know how else to say it, like a science experiment. Just because there's a lot of sugar in the sweet tea to start doesn't mean that you ingest a lot of sugar, because the SCOBY digests the sugar and ferments it, and what you end up drinking only has a little sugar in it. So the 16-ounce bottle only has 50 calories. And it has billions of healthy microorganisms, so it's really good for your gut health. And also, I don't drink alcohol, so I really like putting kombucha into wine glasses on special occasions. I think it's an acquired taste. I did not like it when I first tried it. Then I grew to love it. Anything that's good for our gut health on a GLP-1, I am here for. You can probably tell I was already a fan of kombucha, but I have come to appreciate it so much more on this medication. I'm trying to keep my gut microbiome as healthy as possible, and I think that having kombucha and yogurt too are ways to help feed my microbiome in my gut, and I like it. If you're enjoying this, please feel free to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people who would find this kind of content interesting. And I have an email newsletter that you might be interested in. I send it out every 2 weeks. It's usually information that overlaps but is not completely the same as my videos. Things that didn't make it into the videos because I forgot, or I didn't have room, or they're a little too personal. So basically that's the gist of my newsletter. It's not like a news digest of GLP-1 news or anything like that. There are some really good sources for that, and I'm not one of them. So yeah, I'll put the link in the description below if you want to sign up for my email newsletter. As always, I would love to hear from you. Drop in the comments what kinds of things you always leave in your fridge. Okay, the next thing that's always in my fridge, I keep my apples in the fridge. Is that weird? My mom kept our apples in a bowl, in a fruit bowl on our dining room table growing up, and I know that apples keep at room temperature, but I like them cold and crisp. So I keep my apples in the fridge. They probably last longer that way too. My mom, I'm the fourth of 5 kids, so probably there wasn't room in the fridge for apples. She's like, I gotta make whatever room I can just to keep like space for the milk or something. So that might be why. But anyway, I keep my apples in the fridge. They're one of my favorite fruits. I know they're basic. I don't care. I like to eat them just plain as a snack. Slice them up and eat them with peanut butter, chop them up for oatmeal. They're super versatile. They last a long time. We know I like that. And they're gentle on my digestion. I know that everybody's different, and if apples don't agree with you, find fruits that do agree with you. But apples, I could eat them all day. If you've seen any of my previous videos, this next one will not surprise you at all. It is my no-brainer protein source. It's always in my fridge, and it's Greek yogurt. I like to keep the big containers of plain Fage yogurt, and then also I like to keep the smaller containers of no sugar Chobani. I think it's Chobani, yeah, in different fruit and vanilla flavors and stuff. If my appetite is low, which is most days, I can get a lot of protein through Greek yogurt, and it doesn't feel like it takes up a lot of space in my stomach, if that makes sense. So it agrees with me. It's got tons of healthy probiotics. And yeah, it's just really versatile. I like to make breakfast parfaits. I like to put some fruit on it and eat it as a snack. And you know what? For years, I was dumping the whey, the clear liquid at the top of the container. I was dumping it out into the sink because, I don't know, I just thought it was some kind of weird yogurt waste product. And it was a comment on one of my videos where I was making something with yogurt in it. And on camera, I dumped the liquid into the sink, and someone told me, no, that's a bunch of really good protein. Don't throw the whey away. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many years have I been dumping protein down the drain? I just didn't know, but now I stir it back in. So pro tip, in case you didn't know that, don't get rid of the whey. I always have a couple of salad bags in my fridge because I do eat a salad every day, and I'll link to an episode I made about that. So keeping prepped greens and salad bags ready just really helps me to eat that salad every day. If I haven't prepped like salad jars or something like that, I can just put about half of a salad bag into a bowl, add some protein, add a dressing, and I've got a meal. So super handy, and there's so much variety in salad bags. You can get ones that are just greens like lettuce, but you can get ones that are broccoli slaw, cabbage, all kinds of mixes with fun add-ins. So it is a really nice way for me to have my salads available to me. I'm not putting the nutritional information up here because it totally depends on what salad bag you get, but the nutritional information is on the label of the salad bag. I often don't use the dressing that comes with the salad bag. I often use either my own or one of the jarred ones that I talked about earlier, just to try to stick to healthier oils. But I like all the other add-ins like nuts and dried fruit and little like tortilla crisps and stuff like that. It just makes it more interesting and fun. Getting enough protein is really important on a GLP-1. Some kind of prepped chicken that I've meal prepped for the week, or a rotisserie chicken. One of those things in the fridge helps me to get my protein every day. Sometimes I feel like it's just as budget friendly to get a cooked rotisserie chicken as it is to prep my own chicken, especially if I get the rotisserie chicken at Costco. But, you know, I do it both ways. So yeah, using 3 of the things I've talked about so far, I'll grab some chicken, put it on top of half a salad bag, pour one of the sauces over it, and I've got a meal, even if I haven't like prepped out meals for the whole week ahead of time. This one might surprise you. I keep kale in my fridge. Now you might wonder why, if I'm keeping salad bags, why I also keep kale. 2 reasons. One, it is super robust. As far as leafy greens go, it lasts a really long time. 2, I usually eat it cooked. Once you cook it, you know, it shrinks down a whole bunch, so you can get a really hearty, vitamin-packed serving of kale that would be a huge salad, but when it's cooked, it's just like a little serving of kale. It's really good with some olive oil, salt, pepper, a little hot sauce if you want, some garlic. Really easy and so healthy. A while back in one of my food videos, I forget which one, but I'll find out and I'll link to it here, I made a vitamin and mineral chart, and I will put that link to that chart. It's just a free download. I'll put that link in the description, because the conclusion I came to after I made this vitamin and mineral chart is it's showing what foods are high in what nutrients, and it's like dark leafy greens are in almost every category. So if you eat dark leafy greens regularly, you are seriously covering so many bases. Knowing that, I just make it a habit to include dark leafy greens in my salads and to include some kind of kale, either cooked as a side or stirred into soups and stews, eaten as a salad. I've had a love affair with kale for many years, and I noticed that it can be a little bit like sour in my stomach on a GLP-1. That's why I eat it cooked more often than raw, is it gets more mild when it's cooked. And I also found if I'm eating it raw, I have to be extra certain to break down the cell wall barriers, like massage it with some olive oil and salt. And that helps me with digestion so that I can tolerate it. And I honestly tolerate it just fine once I discovered that I just have to really make sure I'm not eating it just completely sort of untouched. You can see that the macros on this are negligible. It's not in protein or fiber or anything where kale shines. It's in all of the vitamins and minerals that don't show up in this kind of nutritional information. Dark leafy greens, kale included, are high in what's known as polyphenols, and a diet high in polyphenols has been shown to reduce more visceral fat than a diet of the same calories, but that's lower in polyphenols. I'll link to that research in the description. I came across that study recently, but it does mesh with what I had already learned about how valuable dark leafy greens are. So yeah, kale. I promise, no snakes. I went on a 10-mile hike yesterday with a 20-pound backpack on. Yes. And I saw some of the cutest critters. Look at this little chipmunk that came right up to my feet before it ran away. Oh my gosh, so cute. And this little squirrel, I was following the squirrel down the path. And this majestic bird. I sat there and I watched this bird during my biggest break of the day. It was so nice. This is just a state park that's like 20 minutes from my house. I love it. So yeah, I'm continuing to hike with heavy packs, get a lot of steps in like this, and plan all of my backpacking adventures, which you will hear more about in a future episode. Hummus is creamy and flavorful, but it's not really rich. So it sits very well with me on a GLP-1. It doesn't upset my stomach at all, and you get a little fiber and protein. Obviously, using it as a dip for raw veggies is like a really simple go-to snack, but I also use it as a spread in sandwiches or in wraps, just a dollop of it in bowls. And if I'm wanting something even more kind of bland, I will just pair it with crackers. Remember I told you to stick around because this last one you might not keep in the fridge? I keep all of my nuts and seeds in the fridge. Nuts and seeds are high in fat content, super healthy fats, but fat can go rancid. And if you keep your nuts and seeds in the fridge, they last a lot longer. There are so many different nuts and seeds and I kind of love them all, but I'm just gonna single out two today that I really like: walnuts and pumpkin seeds. This was a hard one for me to choose because I love almonds, I love cashews, oh my gosh, I love chia seeds. But anyway, walnuts and pumpkin seeds are crazy nutritious. This is the really healthy omega-3 fats. A serving of walnuts is one of the foods that's been used in the research that shows that the Mediterranean diet is a really healthy diet, that eating omega-3s, that getting high polyphenol foods, that all those things are good. Walnuts has been one of the foods that's used. So we know they're crazy healthy and they're delicious. I will just eat them raw with a piece of fruit as a snack. I like to sprinkle them on my oatmeal. You can do anything. You can put them in salads. But honestly, I think just grabbing a handful, which I've discovered my handful is about an ounce, grabbing a handful and eating it is probably the way I eat them most often. I keep a jar of them in my fridge. They're always there, and they're crazy healthy. Pumpkin seeds, oh my gosh, they have so much nutrition in them. It's like they should be FDA regulated, I swear. Check out all the vitamins and minerals. I'll put them up here because I don't have them memorized, and I can't see my notes because I'm wearing these fake glasses. But it's great when you find a food that is delicious and crazy nutritious, and that is pumpkin seeds. If you leave them in the pantry, they'll get stale and kind of yucky tasting after like a month or two. And when you buy a bag of pumpkin seeds, that's a lot of pumpkin seeds. Like I can't go through a big bag in a month or two. So I keep them in the fridge. You know, I eat them a tablespoon or two at a time. They last forever and they stay fresh. So that's why I keep my nuts and seeds in the fridge. They are nutritional powerhouses. They totally earn their real estate in my fridge. We did it. Those are 10 things I always keep in my fridge. And in case you missed the pantry episode, you can watch it here. See you next week. Bye.